Hello everyone. Today we will have two interesting stories. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics in the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listened to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. I told my wife that I would go to a country house to prepare for the holidays. We wanted to have a barbecue and so on. I had to clean up, turn on the refrigerator, and set up the music system. I said that I would be back home in 2 days, especially since my wife's friend has a birthday, so I got in my car and drove off. On the way to the country house, I wanted to take my 5-year-old daughter to my mother-in-law to look after her. But I didn't get there. The engine stalled, and no matter how I tried to fix it, nothing came out. Kind people helped me and towed me to my house. I was thinking of calling my friend in the morning to help tow the car to the service. I started waiting for my wife. The time is 10 p.m., but my wife is not 11 p.m. She is still not at home. I start calling her, but the caller is unavailable. It's 12 a.m. My wife still hasn't returned home. Well, at about 1:30 a.m., I decided to go out to the loggia to smoke and go to bed. I just lit a cigarette and I hear the front door open. The house is dark, the lights are off everywhere. I was my wife. I wanted to go to the hallway and meet her. But suddenly, I heard that she wasn't alone. I quietly returned to the loggia. They immediately headed to the bedroom, scattering their belongings on the way. I do not know how I sustained a short pause, but I waited until they were comfortable in the bedroom. When my wife started moaning, I immediately went into the bedroom. I came into the room and said, "Can I join you? Or should I just hold a candle next to you?" My wife threw off the man in a panic. She immediately started saying, "I'm sorry, I do not know how it happened. I drank a lot of alcohol and couldn't control myself." But her most outspoken phrase, "We had practically nothing. This man did not have time to do anything." I answered, maybe I should have waited longer. While we were dealing with my wife, this man quietly packed up and ran away. All night my wife begged my forgiveness and couldn't go to bed. "I only love you," she said, "but you just forgive me. I couldn't stand it this morning and was rude to my wife." I told her not to bother me. I've never raised my voice before, even in front of other girls. At 11 a.m., my wife's friend Jessica calls me. It was her birthday. She asks if my wife was delivered safely by her younger brother yesterday. At that moment, I was attacked by nervous laughter. I tell her, "Was that your little brother?" I don't know Jessica that well, so I didn't know she had a younger brother. I laugh and say that, of course, delivered and tied up it with a gift ribbon. Jessica probably didn't know what had happened yet. Her brother didn't tell her. By the way, the guy will turn 18 in 3 months and my wife is 27 years old. A void formed inside me. I decided that I would divorce without hesitation. If my wife cheated once, there will probably be a second betrayal soon. 4 days later, we got divorced. I now live alone and help my daughter. Friends, be careful, mature girls love young guys. With this, the first story has come to an end and we proceed to the second short story. Let's go. I am 49 years old and my wife is 47 years old. Our son is 23 years old. He is an officer and serves in the Army. Our daughter is 25 years old. She is married and lives separately. Recently, I began to notice that my wife began to take care of herself very carefully. I decided to ask her why she does makeup every day like she's going on a date. She told me that I had aged and had no brains left. Who needs me at my 47 years old besides you? I want to say that my wife looks 30. 8 years old when wearing makeup, then we had less sex. She often came up with excuses. She had a headache, then she felt bad. She started shopping with clothes and changed her image. Sometimes she stayed late at work. I couldn't stand it and already told her to her face that you had a lover. She told me that I was crazy. What kind of lover could there be? At her age? We started making scandals a lot, but I saw how my wife began to glow and she was moving away from me a little bit. She stopped going to the country house with me. Although she insisted earlier and we driving 3 times a week, that's why I talked to my daughter. I told her that I had a suspicion that mother had a lover. My daughter answers me, "Yes, Dad, Mom loves you. You've been together for 26 years. I came home and asked my wife a question from the doorway. Does she love me? She replied to me, "Of course I love my fool." I was hooked by this expression, "you fool." It seemed to me that she was addressing me as a young boy. I watched my wife for a while, but nothing happened. She comes to visit her daughter, then goes to a beauty salon. In general, nothing special. 2 days ago, my daughter called me in hysterics. She asked me to come to her urgently. She was crying into the phone. I ran out into the street in my house clothes, get behind the wheel, and quickly drive to my daughter. I walk into my daughter's house, and what do I see? My daughter, her husband, and my wife are sitting in the bedroom, but only my daughter is hysterical. I quickly started walking to my daughter. Her husband and my wife stopped me and said, "Wait, let her calm down," but I pushed them away and went into the room anyway. My daughter told me everything. She asked to leave early at work for a doctor's examination. My daughter and her husband were preparing to conceive a child, but she left some papers at home, so her decided to go home to get these papers at home, When she returned home, she saw her mother having sex with her husband. After what I heard, I felt very sick. That's why my wife immediately called her son-in-law when she was going to the store. She told me to stay at home and relax, because her son-in-law will take her in general. Everything has surfaced. No one could even think about it. I picked up my daughter and we went to my house. The couple in love were left alone in son-in-law's apartment. They have been together for 2 days now. Our phones don't stop ringing. They call us non-stop. We talked to my daughter and decided to file for divorce together. As a result, we divorced. My daughter lives with me. My wife is still trying to fix everything. My daughter is very offended by her mother and says that she is dead to her. My daughter's ex-husband also does not give up trying to fix everything. But we are relentless. There should be no traitors in the family. This brings the second story to an end, and we proceed to the third story. Let's go. My story is for sailors. When the husband goes to sea, the wife goes to Breaking Bad. And so, I returned from the flight. My wife met me at the airport, but there was no confidence in her eyes anymore. A couple of days later, my wife receives a message on social media telling her how good they were in bed. I only managed to read the beginning because she ran up and take her phone out of my hands. To my question, "Who writes you such letters?" she replied that I should not pay attention because it was her friend who was sharing her impressions. Out of respect for my wife's friend, I don't ask for an explanation. In general, I calmly continued to enjoy my vacation, but in the evening I noticed my wife's eyes again. Her eyes were very confused. I wondered why she would be confused. After a while, I find an intimate lubricant. To my question, "What is it?" she replied that her older sister and her husband lived with us in the summer. It was their intimate lubricant. But I also noticed how nervous my wife was at that moment. Imagine the surprise of older sister's husband when I gave him his intimate lubricant. But the sister played her role perfectly and said that, "Oh yes, our lubricant." I completely forgot. The incident seemed to be over. Meanwhile, we went to the ski resort. I accidentally stumbled across a message to some guy from my wife. This message was full of tenderness. I take a screenshot and start digging deeper. But all to no avail. A little more time has passed. As it turned out, a vacation at a ski resort gave us a second opportunity to become parents. My wife got pregnant. I was over the moon. But one day, my wife couldn't find her charger and connected her phone to my laptop. I copied all the files instantly. God, there was compromising evidence for 100 hurrah. Kiri, I'm even ashamed to tell you what I saw. I was confused about what to do. Because my wife was pregnant and I didn't understand whose child it was. I was shocked. After that, I filed for divorce and did a DNA test because I didn't trust my wife anymore, even though she swore it was my baby. As it turned out, the child was not mine. We got divorced and I live alone. Male sailors or those who work the watch, be careful. Girls are very insidious and deceitful creatures. If you like the story, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, so as not to miss new videos. Now, let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. According to tradition, I want to wish strength and patience to our heroes. All the stories were quite interesting and informative. Many people will be able to draw conclusions for themselves after listening to them. All our heroes took into account their mistakes and made the right choice. It's a choice to start a new life, and that's the most important thing. I was shocked by the second story where a mother had sex with her daughter's husband. Yes, there have been many such stories in my practice, but it still comes as a shock to me. I was surprised that our heroes remained calm in all their situations. This is a very rare occurrence. Therefore, I can say that these are very strong men, and it will not be difficult for them to find a new love, because they won't suffer and look back. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for sharing our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.